Welcome to The Explainer. All right, today we're tackling a word we throw around all the time, stupid. We're pretty quick to label other people with it, right? But what if we've been pointing the finger in the wrong direction this whole time? What if the real story is a lot closer to home?
So let's just jump right in with this really provocative idea from Jean-François Marmion. He basically asks, what if stupidity isn't something out there, a problem with other people? What if it's just a fundamental, unavoidable part of being human, like a pre-installed bug in our own operating system? So what even is stupidity? Well, first things first, we've got to completely reframe how we think about it. Because this isn't about being unintelligent, not at all. In fact, some of the absolute smartest people you can imagine are capable of the most profound acts of stupidity.
And this right here is the absolute key. See, a psychologist named Keith Stanovich makes this brilliant point. He says that what an IQ test measures, our brain's raw processing power, its algorithmic intelligence, that's completely different from what he calls rationality. And stupidity? It's a failure of rationality. It's not about how powerful your brain's engine is. It's about how well you actually drive the thing.
So where does this all come from? Well, it turns out the source is right inside our own heads. It's our brain's default setting. It's factory OS. And yeah, it seems our minds are kind of hardwired with some built-in glitches that make foolishness not just a possibility, but pretty much a probability.
Okay, so the Nobel Prize winner Daniel Kahneman explained this perfectly. He said, we basically have two operating systems in our brain. There's System 1, which is like our autopilot. It's super fast, it's intuitive, it's what keeps us from walking into traffic. Then you have System 2. That's the deep thinker. It's logical, it's analytical, but, and this is a big but, it is incredibly lazy. It takes real effort to fire it up. So guess which one we're using most of the time? Yep, we're running on System 1, the one that loves to take shortcuts.
And this is exactly where the trouble starts. These mental shortcuts, they're what we call cognitive biases, and they're basically the bugs in our software. You've got confirmation bias, which is just us looking for proof of what we already believe. Then there's the availability heuristic. That's why we're more scared of a super rare shark attack than, say, heart disease, just because we saw a scary news report. And again, this isn't about being unintelligent. This is just the default setting for literally every human brain.
Okay, so we've got these internal bugs, right? But what happens when they leak out, when they start shaping how we act out in the real world with other people? Well, that's when the inner fool goes public. It becomes the social fool.
And this brings us to something you've probably heard of, the Dunning-Kruger effect. And it is wild. It basically shows that people who are really bad at something aren't just bad at it. They're so bad, they don't even have the skills to realize how bad they are. So their confidence, their perceived ability, it's through the roof, while their actual ability is, in the basement. But wait, it gets worse. There's a devastating second part to this. It's a total double whammy. Not only are they completely blind to their own foolishness, they are also incapable of recognizing real skill and expertise in other people. This is why you get someone who's watched one YouTube video telling a professional mechanic how to fix a car, and they are 100% convinced they know better.
Now, when this kind of overconfidence gets really entrenched, it can create a very specific type of person. A philosopher named Aaron James has a very blunt name for it. He calls this person the asshole. And he's not just talking about someone being mean. He means the person who cuts in line, who thinks the rules just don't apply to them. And it's not because they're evil. It's because they have this deep, unshakable belief that their time, their needs, their opinions are just fundamentally more important than anyone else's.
Okay, so individual foolishness is one thing. But what happens when you take all these individual tendencies and you pour gasoline on them with our modern media environment? Well, you get collective stupidity. That's when foolishness doesn't just happen, it goes viral.
Media strategist Ryan Holiday really nails this. He argues that the media has become a huge engine for this. I mean, just look at the difference in these headlines from then and now. The goal for so many websites today isn't to inform you, it's to get you to click. And they do it by preying on our lazy, emotional System 1 brain.
They use outrage, they use sensationalism, anything to grab your attention, whether the story is true or important or not.
And this kind of environment is the perfect breeding ground for what the philosopher Harry Frankfurt famously defined as, well, bullshit. Now, the distinction he makes is absolutely critical. See, a liar knows the truth and is actively trying to hide it. But a bullshitter, they don't care about the truth one way or the other. They're completely indifferent to it. They'll just say whatever works for them in that moment.
And that leads to this huge problem, what's called the bullshit asymmetry principle. Think about it. It takes 10 seconds to just make up some crazy claim. But it can take hours, days, sometimes years of painstaking research to prove it wrong. So, in a world where we're just flooded with information, trying to refute every false thing, it's exhausting. It's practically impossible. And this, right here, is the very heart of what we call the post-truth era.
All right, so we've seen how stupidity works inside our own heads, how it plays out between people, and how it gets amplified all around us. So, what's the takeaway here? Are we all just doomed to be fools? Well, not exactly. The solution, it turns out, isn't about trying to get smarter, it's about trying to become wiser.
And the path forward, according to psychologist Stacey Callahan, is all about making peace with the fact that we're gonna mess up. It starts with this idea of unconditional self-acceptance. Just because you did something stupid doesn't mean you are a stupid person. You have to separate the action from who you are. Then it's about self-compassion. Treat yourself with the same kindness you'd give a friend who made a mistake. And finally, just remember, we're all in this together. Everyone is imperfect, everyone messes up. It's just part of being human.
So this leaves us with a really difficult choice, doesn't it? Because being absolutely certain about everything, well, that makes you a fool. But being constantly uncertain about everything, that can drive you crazy. The real path to wisdom is learning to live right in the middle of that tension. The wisest people out there are the ones who get comfortable with doubt. The ones who are brave enough to question their own beliefs and say, you know what, I might be wrong. Embracing that, that's the real first step.
And that really brings us to our final thought. Maybe the ultimate defense against stupidity isn't having a high IQ. Maybe it's just humility. It's that simple, but incredibly powerful, recognition that you might be wrong. Because at the end of the day, the biggest fool in the room is always the one who's completely 100% convinced they're the smartest.